So, Kevin, I think the biggest thing I wanted to talk to you about is there's so much uncertainty right now around the game. A lot of debates, a lot of figures, a lot of dollar signs thrown around on social media. Is there any way you can kind of not necessarily dumb it down, but sort of simplify both sides of the argument, just so I can get an idea and so my audience can get an idea of what's going on?
Yeah, well, I think from the players' standpoint, they want to play as many games as possible. You've seen that in all the proposals they've sent to Major League Baseball and the owners. And the owners have come back essentially with the complete opposite end of the spectrum. I talked to a couple of players who, none of whom wanted to go on the record with it, but they basically said, look, we're getting the same proposal, just worded differently. You know, they've gotten 3 or 4 different proposals from Major League Baseball that have essentially boiled down to about 33% of their salary. So, you know, they're a little upset. They're a little ticked off that Major League Baseball is not moving off those numbers, and they feel like they have. So they feel like there's been some wasted time the last couple of weeks where they could have made progress, and the owners basically just sent them back the same proposal worded completely differently. So, you know, at this point, you know, it's basically in the commissioner's hands. He has the ability to say, look, you're playing 50 games, take it or leave it. Now, you know, the players can come back and file a grievance. Players could opt to sit out. The example I keep using is Mookie Betts, who's going to be getting a big-time mega contract this offseason. Is it worth for him to play 50 games at 30% of his salary? He would probably tell you no. So that's what I wonder. You know, I'm still holding out hope we're going to see baseball in some fashion this year. I'm not crazy about a 50-game season. Part of the thing I love about baseball is the fact that it is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And you turn a 162-game season into 50, literally anything can happen. This time last year, the Nationals were 19-31 through 50 games. The Giants were 31-19. How'd that work out for both teams? Pretty good for the Nationals, not as good for the Giants. So I'm not crazy about it, but you know what? If it means I get to go to the ballpark a handful of times and talk about the game we love the most, and it's 50 games, I'll take it. I won't be crazy about it, but that's sort of where it feels like things are headed right now.
You sort of share my attitude with it, but I wanted to talk to you just about kind of what most fans are feeling. To me, it seems like there's 2 camps, like on most of social media. Either most of them are, you know, not crazy about the proposed amount of games, and basically say with whatever this proposal is, whether it be 48 games, 54, 72, that there's no point in having a season. And then the other just wants baseball back on TV. What would you say as a, you know, are you somewhere in the middle ground, or do you lean a certain way with that?
You know, I felt like anything less than 80 games doesn't feel legit. I mean, you know, if you can get half a season in and you crown a World Series champion, I don't know that, you know, you have the conversation that you'd have about, you know, asterisks and records and what's legit and what's not if you only play 50 games. To me, the 50 number, I just don't like it. I'm not crazy about it. So I think that anything less than 80 just doesn't feel legit. Now, that being said, folks here in Atlanta, Braves fans, if your team wins the World Series, are you going to be upset about it? Are you not going to go to the parade? Are you not going to want to see the trophy? I don't think any of that would be the case, but you're going to have 29 other fan bases and teams that are going to look at you and maybe not look at that as legit as it could be. So, you know, I fall in the camp that I feel like anything less than 80 just doesn't feel right. Again, there could be expanded playoffs. You know, you could have 14 or 16 teams. I'm not necessarily crazy about that either, but if it means I get more baseball, again, hopefully this is the outlier year and this is the one year where we have to talk about these kinds of things. I'll take it for this year if it means we get to go to the ballpark a few times.
Right, I share that sentiment right there with you, Kevin. A lot of the players around baseball and even a few Braves, you mentioned you talked to a few over the past couple of weeks, but a lot of them have taken to social media, and the caption that has been going around is, "Tell us when and where, and we're ready." What is the overall mood that you're getting from players that you've talked to, and just they want to play, right?
Oh, they want to play. Yeah, I mean, here in Atlanta, you've got a number of guys working out together basically every day. You've got a group of pitchers, Mike Fultonevich, Mike Soroka, Sean Newcomb, a couple other guys have been working out just about every day. You've got the hitters in Ronald Acuna and Charlie Culberson and Johan Camargo and Ozzie Albies. They've been working out together at a local batting cage to stay ready. These guys want to play. I know the conversation always comes back to money, but these guys have been playing baseball since they're 3 years old, 4 years old. This is all they know is playing baseball. They want to play, and they're united in that they want to play. Now, at the same time, they also want to be treated fairly. They don't want to be taken advantage of. I think that, some of these owners are saying, well, we're going to lose X amount of dollars if we play in front of empty stadiums. Well, the players are saying, well, prove it. Show us those numbers. At the same time, you also can't guarantee that stadiums are going to be empty all year. Now, it's probably more likely than not in most markets that they would play in empty ballparks all year. But, again, there's hope that maybe in September, maybe for the playoffs, you could open it to 25, 50% capacity. Maybe we'll see what happens. But these guys want to play. Believe me, they want to play. It's all they know. And I think of guys like a Charlie Culberson, for example. He was a fan favorite the last couple of years, had some great moments. He ended up being non-tendered this offseason. He came back on a minor league deal because he wanted to be back with the Braves. He's fighting and clawing and scratching for a roster spot. If they don't play, guys like Charlie Culberson, might have to be forced to go do something else. Find a job. Again, there's probably folks out there watching this that are going to say, well, these guys are superstar athletes. They're multimillionaires. Well, not so fast. 65% of guys in Major League Baseball are making $1 million or less a season. Now, when you break that down, let's say the guys that are making league minimum, they're making $575,000. Let's use a rough number. If they're going to get a third of their salary, you're under $200,000. You pay your agent, right? You pay your taxes. You've got a different lifestyle than any of us can imagine. You're less than 200 grand is going to be going like that. So I worry about guys, especially minor league players, man. They're going to be forced to do something different. They're going to be forced to be in the real world like the rest of us. And again, I know there's some folks that will say, well, boo-hoo. But that's a big deal. And I feel bad for guys that are going to be potentially forced into early retirement because these two sides just can't get on the same page.
I'm glad you brought up the minor league players because that's something I've been thinking about a lot lately. I know a few guys personally that are minor league players that that don't make $1 million every year, that do struggle along the way. And with that said, I worry about the future of the game. I actually did a video yesterday kind of recollecting the 1994 strike and the after effects of the strike. Do you worry about what could happen in 2021, 2022, and even years after that?
I worry about what happens now, I'll be honest with you. Yeah, and to answer your question, yes, I do worry about the future of the game. To me, the damage is done already. I mean, you have a lot of fans out there that are saying, the heck with it. I don't want to support these guys. If they play or not, whatever. I'm over it. I'm sick and tired of hearing billionaires fight with millionaires. And I don't necessarily think that's a terrible argument. I do worry about the game. Look, I love this game, man. I love it. I fell in love with this game as a very young boy. I tried to play it. I wasn't very good, so I ended up finding a career where I could be around it every single day. But to me, part of the damage has already been done in the last, couple of months with these guys, so publicly going back and forth. I wish some of this would just be done behind closed doors. Tell us when you got a deal. Tell us whatever the outcome's going to be. Don't tell us that, the owners are going to the players and you've got 72 hours to get back to us on a proposal we know they're going to say no to. That they're tweeting 3 minutes after it's sent to them that McCutcheon's tweeting LOL because they know they're not going to agree. No, say we want a response in 15 minutes. Let's get some progress done. Let's get the ball moving. Let's get some traction on this whole thing. So yeah, I worry about the game. Look, if anybody out there watched Long Gone Summer a couple of nights ago on ESPN, the McGuire and Sosa documentary, it took 4 years to bring fans back. Looking back, it was a corrupt home run race where two guys had cheated to get to where they were, but that brought people back to the game. Everyone was looking in the paper the next day, and heck, you're probably even too young to remember doing that. I mean, I remember as a kid looking at the box score, getting the paper the next morning going, hey, did McGuire hit one? Did Sosa hit one? That's just how people followed it, and people were glued to this thing every single night. Baseball wasn't on national TV every night like it is now, but ESPN was covering it. They were showing games. They were talking about, hey, we're gonna air this home run chase in September because it's all anyone was talking about. So I worry if they don't play this season because of money, and even if they do, I feel like part of the damage has been done to the reputation. And unfortunately, I think a lot of fans are going to take that out on the players because those are the guys they know. Those are the familiar faces. Most fans don't know who the owners of their team are, and they can walk past them on the street and wouldn't know that guy owned, or that guy or gal owned a major league team. So the players are the faces of this thing, and I'm afraid they're going to be the ones that are going to wear the brunt of the frustration. So I think it's smart. They're unified. They're all going out there with the same message. When and where? Tell us when. We'll be there. There's guys that would report tomorrow if they said, we're going to start spring training 2.0 tomorrow. I guarantee you those camps will be full tomorrow morning.
That's great to hear. For me, on a personal note, I sort of checked out once everything started, turning into what it has turned into. If you want to argue about precautions for coronavirus and things like that, to keep safety precautions, I don't mind that. What bothers me is I follow Jeff Passan on Twitter. And every 5 minutes, every day, it's something new, and it's back and forth. And I think a lot of people, like you said, checked out because of that. What do you think would bring people back, if not this year, next year?
It's a great question, and I don't know, to be honest with you. I think if they could come to an agreement and say, you know what, 2020 is the outlier. This is not going to set a precedent for what happens beyond this. Hopefully, ideally, fingers crossed, this is the outlier year, and we can get back to everything being normal next year. But again, what scares me is that your CBA is up after next season. You've got a lot of bad blood between the owners and the players side of things. I don't think those fences are going to be mended quick enough to turn the page and say, you know what, we're all going to play nice going into those CBA negotiations. Because again, you think about the last couple of years in free agency, you had guys like Bryce Harper, Manny Machado, the big names that were out there on the market that were available, that remained unsigned, that were still available. Will they be able to come to agreements? Will they be able to play nice? I don't know. So I think if they could come to an agreement right now and say, you know what, let's put our differences aside. Let's play 70 games. Let's make the people happy. Let's let the fans feel some sense of normalcy. That may help bring people back. But then you're going to have a section of the fans who are going to say, you know what, I'm ticked and I'm not going to come back for a while.